Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Drea Darby. I recently graduated with my PhD in entomology, the study of insects here at Cornell University. I work with the fruit fly, Drosophila, which is very topical when we think about all the discoveries we made about DNA, which we'll be talking about today, and how to go over these different activities with you and your students so they can learn more about the importance of DNA in our everyday lives. And so for today's discussion, we'll be going over the central dogma of biology, so DNA, RNA, protein. And so the different activities that we'll be going over with your students today will help give them a better idea of how these different processes happen. We think about the importance of DNA. DNA is essentially the genetic code within our bodies that lead to the development of protein. Proteins are the things that we can see, such as our skin color, our eye color, our hair color. And DNA is the building blocks, or essentially the recipe that leads to the production of these proteins that makes us who we are, but also makes up who the things that we eat are, our pets, the plants in our homes and outside. And so with the activities we'll be going over today, we'll give you a basic idea of how DNA develops into the living things that we are today. And the way that we will do this for your students, we'll first go over interactive exercise of how to extract DNA. So how does DNA actually get to turn into the protein that we see? And so in the following videos, we'll get to talk about all these different activities that you two and your students can do more and learn about how awesome DNA is. So before we get into the activities that we're going to do today, I thought it'd be good for us to do a bit of background on what DNA is, so it can help you understand the theory behind the activities that you'll be doing today with your students. So before you do your exercises, your students should read the sheet on DNA, structure, and discovery, which will help inform what their knowledge is for doing the activities for today. But when we think about the central dogma of biology, DNA, RNA, and protein, eventually leading to the traits that we see on our bodies or in the living things around us, we first have to get real small. So when we think about DNA, before it turns into protein, DNA lives inside of our cells. And within our cells, they live in another place called the nucleus. And so the nucleus is where the DNA is inhabiting. And so when we have a new cell that is created, we have to replicate that DNA. And so the DNA will actually replicate inside of the nucleus within the cell. So before we get into more details about the theory behind the central dogma of biology, DNA, RNA, protein, I wanted to first start off with an analogy to kind of familiarize everyone with how this process works. So we can think of our DNA lives in our cells, and they live inside of the nucleus. And DNA, you can think of it as like a cookbook that has different types of recipes. When you hear a gene can be a recipe for a certain type of trait. And so our DNA is the cookbook recipe. And when we go from DNA to RNA, you can think of RNA as a copy of this recipe. And everyone can have different ingredients that go into these recipes. So when we think of hair color or eye color, they create the same thing. They create our hair, they create our eyes, but there are different ingredients that can vary between person to person. And so when we have our copy of our recipe, we can then actually cook it. So when we say cook it, it's like, we go from RNA to protein. So protein is the actual making, the actual cooking of the original DNA recipe. So we get protein, so we get our traits that you get to see in our bodies. And so for today's activity, we'll get to look at actually visualize what DNA is. So DNA is really small, but it actually can be even longer than my arm span if we were to take all the DNA from my own body and to extract it. And we'll be doing various amounts of experiments that will be interactive with the students so they can actually extract DNA from different types of living organisms. But today we'll be using, for our first activity, peas or any other kind of living material that you have access to. So after we've extracted our DNA, the students will then go into 3 subsequent activities. The first one we'll be talking about the base pair rule. So when we think about DNA is made up of many different types of molecules. And you might think of the classical kind of helix structure when you think about DNA. And we get this helix structure because there are these different molecules called nucleic acids, also known as different base pairs. And these base pairs connect to each other within the DNA to create this helix structure. And with these different base pairs, the students will do an activity where they get an idea to learn more about how the base pair rule works. And so with our DNA structure, for different nucleic acids, there are things called pyrimidines and purines. And the students will get to have different types of base pairs that they will use. And with this group activity, the students will have to try to find their respective base pair. And so when we think about how the DNA structure is created with the different base pairs, we got our purines. So that is adenine and guanine. And then there are pyrimidines called thymine and cytosine. The way that I learned about this in my biology class is that we just pair the A's to the T's and the G's to the C's. And so that's the idea that the students will be doing for this activity. So we got our G and our C, they go together. Very similarly, if you have a student that has a thymine and an adenine, they should be able to pair together. And this will be a pretty basic understanding for the students to get how the helix structure is created through these base pair rule. So once the students in activity 1 are able to understand how the base pair rule is applied, knowing that A's and T's go together and G's and C's go together, we can then transition to the activity 2 of replication. So for this activity, you will give them a DNA strand. And when we want to create new DNA within a cell, we have to unzip it. So in pairs, students will unzip their DNA strand, and they will then be responsible for pairing the A's to the T's and G's to the C's for their respective strands of DNA. So you can read more within the handbooks that we give you all for further instructions. But once the students have completed building their strands, they'll compare it with each other and then show it to you of how they did it. So for this first activity, we'll get to do a really interactive one where the students get to actually extract DNA. And so for us to be able to do that, we'll go over the materials that we need for our experiment. So first, we'll have to have our living matter. So for this demo, we'll be using peas, but you could honestly use any living matter that you have access to. And for us to get access to the DNA is within our cells, we need to break up the living material a bit. So we'll be using a blender to do that for us. And for us to actually get access to the DNA, since they're within our cells, and further, they're inside the nucleus. So the nucleus and our cells have this thing called a cell membrane, which are made up of a lot of lipids or fat. And we need to be able to break those down so we can get access and release the DNA for us to actually see. And so the way that we're going to do that is by using detergent or soap. And what the soap will do, it'll break up the membrane of the cell and of the nucleus to then free the DNA. And then for us to actually see it, because DNA is really tiny, and it can dissolve in water. And so for us to actually see it, we want to do a thing called precipitation. And so what we do with precipitating the DNA from our solution, we need to have salt. What salt's going to do is that it's going to actually bind to the DNA, and that'll allow us to make it insoluble, which means it will not be able to dissolve when we put it into a liquid like alcohol. So we're going to be using isopropanol alcohol as another reagent that we're going to use to actually visualize or precipitate the DNA for us to see. So I already went ahead and blended up my peas. You don't have to use a blender, but as long as the material you're using is as smooth as possible. And we can put it inside of these tubes. They can also be little smaller ones if that's what you have access to. But once we have our, for myself at least, a pea soup, we can then go ahead and add our extracting buffers, or at least in this case, dishwasher detergent. And you can follow the protocol within the sheet that you have access to get the exact measurements, but we want to add at least about 2 tablespoons of dish detergent, and we'll add that directly into our solution. And it's okay if not all of the detergent comes out because it is kind of sticky, but as long as we have most of it in here, that's fine. We just want to have just enough detergent so that can break down the cell walls so we can get access to our DNA. And within your kit, you can have these things like wooden sticks, or if you have access to spoons, and you'll just want to mix together your detergent with your pea soup. Now I'm just going to close the lid and just gently invert it to do an additional bout of mixing. And now I'm going to add, here we'll just do a pinch of salt. And again, the salt is going to help bind to the DNA. So once we start to add our isopropanol, it can help us see it. So I'm just going to do gentle mixing in the tube. And now we have a nice pea soup with detergent, and it should be already breaking down the cell walls. And so now what we're going to do, and this is going to be a very critical step, is to add our alcohol. And like I said before, DNA, it dissolves in water. And so for us to be able to see it, we got to add something like alcohol, which it cannot dissolve in. And so when your students are ready to have the alcohol added, it'll be very important that they are very gentle when it comes to adding the alcohol. So the way that we're going to do this is that you want to tilt your test tube to the side at an angle so that you can add your isopropanol in slowly. If it comes in too fast, it's going to mix with the water, and so it's going to be a lot harder for us to extract and see the DNA. So I'm just going to slowly add this in. And alcohol is not as dense as water, so what's going to happen is that the alcohol is going to sit on top of the water. And so they're going to be 2 different solutions that you're going to see in just a bit. So being very gentle to not mix it. You can kind of see here that here's our pea soup, our water and pea solution. And on top, I added the alcohol, which you can kind of see here is a lot clearer. And now we can take our wooden spoon again, and we can dip into the test tube. And you want to be very careful to not extra mix it. You don't want to be too rough. And so you just gently, in your pea soup part of the vial, just gently stir it and then pull it up into the alcohol. And as you're gently pulling it up into the alcohol, you'll start to see strands of DNA actually go into the clearer version of the test tube. So today we get to learn about the idea of DNA, and we got to walk through how to actually extract it for yourself, and going over a quick walkthrough of how the base pair rule works in terms of how the DNA helix is made. And the sheets that you have access to, there are other two activities that go over how replication and how DNA is actually transcribed and then translated into protein that you can read in further details inside of your notebooks. But I hope that this was a helpful instruction for you that you can share with your students and have a shared joy in the beautiful thing that makes up all of us, which is DNA.